Welcome back, everybody. Jaysin Static with another episode of the interview series. I am Jaysin Static. You, sir, are?
Brandon.barbwire.
Brandon, how long have you been in the wrestling business?
Since 2005, so 20 years.
Coming up on 20 years. All right, man. You've probably seen some of these before. I don't know if you have. But what we do here is we got two questions for you. Are you ready for your first question?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Is independent wrestling a more advantageous route for wrestlers looking to generate income in the sport today compared to signing with some of the bigger companies?
I don't know that I would say it was more advantageous.
Right.
It certainly has the potential to make more money now than, say, 20 years ago when I started.
Right.
One of the things that was said to me by multiple people was, if you're in this business to make money, you probably need to pump the brakes on that.
Right.
And it wasn't that there's no potential to make money in this business. It was more an issue of there's so much that you need to learn and so
Right.
much you need to acquire before you start worrying about that.
Mhm.
That if you fixate on those things, you're gonna have a big head. You're gonna
Right.
think you deserve more than you do. You're not gonna understand paying dues.
Right.
All that stuff.
Do you think compared to when you started and when I started a couple years after you, I'm close to 15, you're close to 20. Do you think compared to today, compared to back then, it's easier to make money nowadays
So
compared to when we started?
the internet has made this accessible to everyone.
Right.
And so when we were coming in, like, the internet was still trying to figure out what it was going to be.
Absolutely.
And so, like, which sounds crazy. It makes it sound like we're a million years old. But, in 2005, the internet for the average household, like, we didn't even have a computer in my home.
Right.
So, like, not everybody had it. Not everybody had access to it. And it has changed and grown so much in that time. I think for that reason alone, it's easier today
Right.
to have people be aware of who you are. Like,
Right.
the social media, for all of its negatives, it certainly has a positive in the sense of you can reach people.
Right.
You can have people know that you exist,
Yeah.
which is really the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, and even that takes a little bit of work behind it too, because if you're not one of those people that like steadily does content, the whole content grind, it sucks sometimes. And as somebody who's doing the content grind with these episodes and these interviews and stuff like this, going to all these shows, meeting up with people at their houses and trying to do this stuff, like the content grind is hard. But I think, to piggyback off of what you already said, I think if professional wrestlers nowadays, and we can extend this to professional wrestling companies too, promotions. You're a GM of one of the companies here. We're at CCW tonight, and I think if companies and wrestlers alike, whether you're managers, wrestlers, promoters, bookers, I think if we looked at this as more of a business mindset of like, content is part of our job now compared to what it was back in the day, because we didn't really have to push content. The content back in the day was trying to get your asses in a magazine
and get on TV.
and get on TV. So now I'm of the mindset of, it's a little bit easier. It's still hard. It's not easy to make money in the business.
Let's not say easier. I think easier gives this idea that that it would be simpler. It's not easier. There's just a larger avenue for success.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Perfect sense.
Not easier. Just there's more opportunity now than there was when we were coming up.
Right.
Back in 2005.
Now, is that since you're a GM of one of the companies, CCW in particular, what is stuff that you try to get across of guys that are coming in or wanting to get bookings and stuff like that in that realm of the question that we're answering here? Is what is stuff that you look for in a guy or a girl who's wanting to come in to CCW, as far as, a way to make money? Because I mean, we do kind of want to make money at this.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the goal overall. At some point, you will hopefully get to a point where your skill set is good enough that you're well rounded enough that you can hopefully do that. And of course, merchandising is a big deal. Being on your social media platforms, having the headshots, having the promo shots, all that stuff is important.
Is that something that you look for? So like if you got a young guy, since we're running with the Fight Club crew right now,
right?
You know, in particular, and Eagle's booked on the show tonight, and he's one of the guys. You know, like when you're looking to book a young guy like that who's green as goose shit, you know, and do you look for guys that have more of a presence, who carry themselves in a different way?
It's like you're asking me if I look for the it factor.
Yeah.
And it's like that comes in so many different shapes and sizes.
Right.
There are some guys like Eagle Eye who, like, when you look at him, like his whole aesthetic screams market that guy to kids.
Right?
Because he's kind of got the superhero-y kind of feel to him. Kids will eat that stuff up. He seems like he could be a wholesome character.
Right.
So what I see in that guy may be completely different from what I see in someone like Adult Anthony.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not a cookie cutter.
Right.
It isn't necessarily one thing.
Okay.
It can be a collage of things.
Okay.
Pieced together right.
All right, man. Good first answer. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Brandon! Second question. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Now, me knowing a little bit about your history, I know that you recently retired.
Yeah.
Now, with knowing that, this is the setup for this. Post-retirement, what legacy do you hope you have left behind?
I hope that I've left a legacy of kindness and patience.
Right.
I hope that I've left a legacy of a lot of guys in this business are very hard-nosed when it comes to this business.
Absolutely.
And to an extent, it's something in this business that's kind of, it's put always in the wrong places by the wrong people.
Right.
It seems like the right kind of hard nose teaches you.
Mm-hmm.
The wrong kind of hard nose just chastises you.
Right.
I hope that I've left a legacy of kindness and honesty that kind of bridges that gap, so that when someone knows that I was being harsh with them, it wasn't out of spite and it wasn't out of ego. It was out of giving a shit.
Because I in particular, this is what I say to my guys, is there's going to be times where I'm extremely hard on you.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it because I want to be an asshole. I'm doing it because, one, I believe in you, and two, I know that you can fucking do it.
Well, and two, like when you're 20 years in or 15 years in or whatever the case may be, there's things that you see in hindsight that were plain as day, but you just didn't have the eyes to see it. You didn't have the know-how. Mm-hmm. You aren't aware.
Right.
And trying to like show these younger guys that, hey, there's all this shit that you're not seeing, that you're overlooking.
Right. Absolutely.
You're doing.
Absolutely.
That's a big part of the process too.
Yeah. And I think it's a good way to talk about this this particular question in the realm of, I think there's some old guys in this game that can learn from what you just said about the talking to somebody in a way that you're chastising them, but you're chastising them and they understand why they're doing it. Because I know when you came up and whenever I came up, we probably had guys, and I know I had guys chastise me in a way that I'm just like, what the hell is this guy's problem?
Right. Is like, what is the overall benefit of this? Some guys are just in your ass because they know they can be in your ass.
Right.
And they know they can get away with it.
Right.
Other guys, it's the difference between criticism and constructive criticism.
Right.
And to your own credit, just plain old criticism can be constructive if you know how to listen.
Right.
If you know how to take, somebody can say some awful shit about you.
Right.
Maybe about 50% of it's true, but you need to pay attention to that 50%.
Right.
If you blow it off because that guy's an asshole, you're not learning anything.
Yeah. Something I tell my guys, and hell, anybody that I can come into contact with, even guys that I sit down and do these interviews with, especially the younger ones. And this is something that I've tried to ingrain into people is, even if you feel that somebody's being extremely hard on you for absolutely no reason, and that context of the way that they're talking, it's bad, and it really is bad, and you know it is bad.
Yeah.
Listen to it. try it. If it applies to you, do it. If it doesn't, okay.
Right.
But sometimes I think in my mind, and this is the way I handle my business, is sometimes the things are better left unsaid and let that guy talk the way that he talks, talk to you the way he talks to you. Go talk to somebody that you trust and you believe in and know that, like hypothetical. So say me and you have an issue where, I'm grading you because of something that you did wrong. And you might go up to Billy Hills and be like, hey, Billy, did Jaysin, you know Jaysin really well. How do you feel? He said this to me. What do you think?
You just get a gauge on the person through someone else that you trust.
Right.
Yeah. So like, I mean, and that's a good habit to have anyway. It's easy to jump to conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to one of my kids earlier, not my kids, but one of my kids I trained earlier. And I told him, and this is true, like everyone lies to themselves more than they lie to anyone.
Absolutely.
And that's how you build ego. That's how you make justification for attitudes and things like that. Like, but if you can just be aware that that's going to be a problem and check that at the door.
Right.
You do yourself a huge favor to understand, like, self-analysis is more important than anything, but it's only relevant if you can be honest.
I 100% agree with you. And on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Do you have anything to plug?
Being more or less retired at this point, the CCW Facebook page is kind of where we doing everything. Okay. Anything I do.
You guys got a website for CCW too?
Yeah, we've got www.capewrestling.com.
Okay.
It's simple enough.
We'll make sure that's all down in the description.
And then, of course, we're on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram.
And we'll make sure we plug all that stuff on the backside. Do you have any, if you could leave this conversation with a real quick 30 seconds, leave some, like, drop some deep knowledge of something that you feel that you didn't do in your early days that now that you can kind of give to the new guys.
That is just such a long list.
Yeah.
Of things. But I guess if I were going to narrow it down to just one thing real quick, it goes back to be honest with yourself.
Okay.
If you can't objectively look at yourself, if you can't be honest with yourself,
right,
you're limiting your growth.
Right.
If you're limiting your growth, you're limiting yourself.
Right. Absolutely, man. Well, we're going to run this out just like we always do. Jaysin Static on all social media. Fight Club Wrestling Academy on Facebook and on YouTube. Go check us out. We need those views on YouTube. That's where we're running these up. Make sure you comment, okay? Comment gauges help us. So help us here. And last but not least, the best one of all, weare138co.com. That's the website. Jaysin Static merch, Fight Club merch, and 138 Streetwear. That's what runs this whole thing, brother. So go check that place out. There's all kinds of new stuff on there too. Brand new website. I just changed it. So go check us out. Brandon, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate you too. I like what you're doing, man. It's really nice.
Thank you.
I enjoy it. God bless.